I got interested in Antarctic exploration, and as I was reading Antarctic exploration during the so-called heroic age, which is Scott's first expedition, his second expedition, and then Shackleton's Antarctic expedition, the famous endurance expedition. And I got interested when I was just a kid, and I read this book, and I read it to pieces. It was called Shackleton's Valiant Voyage. And in it, I saw the name Tom Crean among a number of other names. And years later, I ran across this story again, and years later, and then I started to read up, and then I started to notice that when you read the accounts of these different Antarctic explorations, Tom Crean's name is one that shows up here, and it shows up there, and it shows up in these places where when the chips are really down, when this piece of the expedition is really doomed and everyone is about to freeze to death and they're all going to die, one person comes through, and that person is Tom Crean. 1996, I said, no one's written a book about this guy. I should write a book about Tom Crean. My book approaches Tom Crean's life in a different kind of way. Everything that you will see in Sailor on Ice and in Hold Fast comes directly from first-hand accounts of people who were with Tom Crean. He didn't talk about his own experiences very much. He never bragged about it. He just sort of kept quiet about what he did. And that's kind of who he was. So I'm going to start this talk today. I'm going to put you with Tom Crean in a 22-foot boat where he is in charge of this boat. It's the Stancomb Wills. He's with the Shackleton's Antarctic expedition. The Endurance is sunk. The men lived on the ice for another 5 months. They lived on the floating ice in the Antarctic. And then they had to take to the boats because they came to the ice edge. We are now farther south in the world than anyone else has ever been. Why would you do that? What is the point? And the point is, it's really hard to explain. But I have heard it explained this way by modern-day Antarcticans that have gone down there. The first time you go to the Antarctic, you go for the adventure. The second time, you go for the money. And the third time, you go because you're really not good for anything else. It's an addictive kind of thing. It was important. This getting to the South Pole was important in a number of reasons. It was important and it was a matter of national pride. It was a matter of personal pride. It was a matter of science. And believe me, much of what we know about our climate today, in particular as revolves around the South Polar regions, the baseline started with Scott's expeditions.